I never thought I'd live long enough to say this out loud. But the day my blind wife's guide dog got kicked by a clipboard tyrant in khakis, that was the day I realized something ugly about people. Turns out some folks don't want safety, they want control. And sometimes the only thing more dangerous than a trained war dog is the man holding the leash. It didn't start loud. No shouting, no chaos. Just a sound, sharp, small, wrong. Not from the dog. From Eleanor. That little inhale people make when something inside them shifts sideways. I looked up from the porch and saw Brett standing there, boot still hanging in the air like it hadn't gotten the memo that gravity existed. Felix didn't bark, didn't snap, didn't even move. Just stood there like carved stone, one paw slightly forward, eyes locked on the man who just kicked him. Eleanor's cane lay in the grass. Her hands were white around the harness. She wasn't crying, just shaking. That kind of shaking that comes from somewhere deep, the place where fear and memory live together. I walked down the steps slow. Not dramatic slow. Calm slow. The kind of slow you walk when you already know how this ends. Karen stood across the sidewalk with that smile, the HOA smile. Clipboard tucked under her arm, like she'd just caught someone parking crooked. She started talking about safety, perception, community, comfort, all those soft words people use when they want power without consequences. Felix was trembling just a little under my hand. Not hurt badly, but tense, remembering. And that's when something in me woke up that hadn't been awake in years. Because here's the part they didn't know. Felix wasn't always a guide dog. Before sidewalks and crosswalks and elevator buttons, he was a war dog. The kind they don't put in recruitment brochures. The kind you don't brag about at barbecues. He'd walked through dust that smelled like burned metal and diesel, stood still in places where one wrong step turned men into ghosts. He saved my life once without making a sound, just froze mid-step, nose twitching, and I felt the edge of a pressure plate under my boot like a coin under a rug. That dog didn't stay calm because he was gentle. He stayed calm because I taught him to. And he never forgot. When Eleanor lost her sight, Felix chose her the way some soldiers choose who they'd take a bullet for. Just walked up one day, leaned his head in her palm, and that was that. No ceremony, no paperwork, just loyalty changing shape. So when Karen started talking about rehoming options and behavior monitoring agreements, I knew this wasn't about safety. This was about someone who'd never been told no, finally meeting resistance and not liking it. Then the letter showed up the next morning. Official violation. HOA letterhead. But tucked inside was something else, a photo of Felix walking Eleanor. Grainy, taken from a distance, and 4 words written underneath. Unleash him and see what happens. That's when it stopped being neighborhood drama and started feeling like something else. Something older. Something colder. I didn't sleep that night. Sat in the hallway watching Felix guard the front door like he used to guard perimeters overseas. Eleanor asleep on the couch, her hand resting on his back like it was the only solid thing in the world. He didn't move, didn't blink, just waited. And I realized something I hadn't admitted in years. We were never really done with that life. We were just on standby. The HOA escalated fast after that. Emails, threats wrapped in polite language. Karen showed up with lemon cupcakes like she was auditioning for sainthood while handing us paperwork that basically translated to surrender the dog quietly. Felix sat there the whole time, silent, watching her like he was memorizing angles. I installed cameras that night, not because I was scared, because I recognized patterns. And once you recognize patterns, you prepare. That's when the twist hit. Charlie showed up with a taco bag and a laptop, and that look he gets when something smells off. He started digging into Karen, just curiosity at first. Then he went quiet, the bad kind of quiet. She doesn't exist, he said. No records before a few years ago. Fake notary signatures. Different aliases. And then the mugshot popped up on the screen. Another state, another HOA, another neighborhood she'd torn apart before disappearing. Same smile. Same eyes. Turns out she'd done this before. Different town. Different name. Same playbook. That was the moment everything shifted. Because now this wasn't about a dog anymore. It was about a predator who'd mistaken a quiet street for easy prey and picked the wrong house. We sent the truth everywhere. Licensing boards, local reporters, city offices. No threats. Just facts. Cold, clean, undeniable. And she panicked. You could feel it. Mailbox smashed. Anonymous threats. Lawsuit papers thrown like smoke grenades. Classic intimidation. The kind meant to make normal people back down. But we weren't normal people. So I posted the video. No music. No narration. Just Felix standing still and the kick. I knew it was everywhere. Neighborhood groups. Veteran forums. Local news inboxes. People started putting signs in their yards. We stand with Felix. This street doesn't kick dogs. Karen vanished for a weekend. Then she made her move. Animal control showed up at dawn. 2 officers. One with a tranquilizer rifle already raised. Said they had an emergency citation. Said they were taking him. Felix looked at me. That's the look I'll never forget. Not fear. Not anger. Just a question. What do you want me to do? I told him to stand down. And he did. Walked into that van without a sound. Because that's what he was trained to do. Trust me even when it broke him. That silence, that's what shattered Eleanor. She didn't scream. Didn't collapse. Just sat on the floor beside his bed like something sacred had been taken. That's when I stopped playing defense. We built the case like we were planning an operation. Records. Certifications. Combat footage. Affidavits. Every piece of truth laid out like ammunition. Court date came quiet. Felix wore his old collar, the one from before the sidewalks, before the quiet life. He walked into that courtroom like he carried history on his shoulders. People felt it. You could see in the way they stopped breathing when he passed. Karen tried to talk about fear, about perception, about community safety. Then the video played. No one moved. Then the audio. Her voice on tape, clear as glass. I want him gone. That was the moment the room turned. But the real ending didn't come from me, or a lawyer, or a speech. It came from Felix. I gave him one signal. He stood, walked across that courtroom, slow and steady, past everyone, and stopped beside Eleanor, rested his head on her knee, and something broke in that room. Not loud, not dramatic, just truth settling into people's bones. Karen tried to leave. Felix stepped in front of her path. Not aggressive, just certain, like a wall built out of memory and loyalty and consequences. And that was it. The judge didn't need theatrics after that. Karen got hit with fines, misconduct findings, protective orders. The HOA collapsed like a cheap folding chair. Felix was officially recognized as a protected veteran service animal, untouchable legally and otherwise. We put up a sign on the gate after that. Black slate, gold trim, a silhouette of Felix mid-stride. Underneath it, just 2 words. Try me. Eleanor laughs more now. Walks farther. People stop her on the street to thank her. To thank him. Funny how quickly perception changes when truth gets sunlight. Karen disappeared again. Different county. Different name. But this time the doors stayed closed. And me? I sit on the porch at night with Felix beside me. Same way we used to sit overseas, backs to the wall, watching the dark. Only now I don't feel that tension anymore. Not the constant readiness. Not the waiting. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about justice. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just stands still and lets the truth walk into the room. I hung Felix's old collar above the mantel. Scratched leather. Faded tag. Eleanor once asked if I wanted to polish it. I told her no. Some scars are supposed to stay visible. They remind you what survival costs. And maybe that's the lesson buried in all this. Power doesn't come for volume. Not from clipboards or threats or loud people in press clothes. Real power is quiet. It's the kind that waits. The kind that remembers. The kind that doesn't move until it has to. But when it does, it ends things. So now I wonder something I still don't have a clean answer for. Did I go too far? Because I didn't throw the first punch. But I made damn sure I threw the last one. And sometimes I think about how thin that line is between justice and vengeance, between protecting what you love and becoming something harder than you meant to be. Maybe you can't fight monsters without growing sharper edges. Maybe that's the price. What do you think? If someone crosses a line like that, hurt's the only thing giving your family freedom, do you stop at forgiveness or do you make sure they never do it again? I'm not asking for agreement, just the truth. Tell me where you stand. And if you've ever had a moment where you had to decide, mercy or consequences,